Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inspirational Corner. My name is Rose Okenda. Today, we have the privilege of being joined by a young woman. Her name is Diana Yatich. Diana Yatich went blind at only 3 years old. She is truly the perfect example of disability is not inability. And today, she gives us a sum total of her experiences, where she's been, where she is right now, and where she wants to go in the near future. Be inspired. Welcome, Diana, to the show.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, this is Inspirational Corner. This is where we have inspiring stories, tells from people that uplift others who are watching. Dana, I've just described you as, you're physically impaired. You lost your eyesight at 3 years, but that is not who you are. Who is Diana? You're much more than a girl who just cannot see.
I am uh, outgoing. I
Hmm.
am a hardworking woman. I push until things happen.
Let's talk about. I know right now you're working. We'll get into that in a while for a communication company. But let's talk about your upbringing. And let's talk about when did you lose your eyesight? Because some people have said, I was born blind or I had an accident, etc., etc. What is your experience?
Well, at 3 years old, when I lost my sight, well, as a child, clearly you do not understand. You might not get the grip of what has actually really hit you and its impact in your life, but you only get the difference as you go. You get to learn how different things are as you grow. And
Hmm.
I can tell you, when you used to running around and you see your way, and then things have changed. Now you're running and hitting on walls and falling down.
Hmm.
But as a kid, it really never stopped me. I
Hmm.
kept, running, being hit by a wall. I fall, I stand, I run again, and until I find my way.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's basically how my experience was when growing up.
Okay, let's talk about now you're 3 years. It's
Hmm.
time to go to school, and there's usually the dilemma. Do we, your parents are like, do we make Diana join the main system, be with people who can see, or do we localize Diana and make sure she is among people just like her? But what did your parents decide? What was your experience with school?
Well, my parents, went for the option of making me go to a regular school because first, I think they were not really comfortable putting me in a boarding school away from them
Mm-hmm.
where they cannot monitor and know how I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
because I was in Nakuru, and the available boarding school for blind persons was in Thika.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the distance. They felt like that was too far. They had to find a solution that is closer home,
Mm-hmm.
and they got a school that is around, so which was a regular school that was integrating and allowing other persons with disabilities to go in and learn with the rest.
So are we talking about normal schools
Yeah.
from right about when this is nursery to primary all the way to secondary, or what are we talking about?
Yes, I went to regular school right from nursery school all the way to university.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were speaking to somebody else who's probably struggling with that decision, do I go to an integrated school? Do I go to a blind school? What would be your advice? Do you think it's important to be with people who are like you because you have this kind of like solidarity, like we are the same and it's easier?
Well, I think it's a matter of preference, and I could advise them to go with what they believe is best, for their children.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you're in an integrated system, of course, you do not get the quality that they give at a school for the blind. Because in a regular school, they might not have the teachers who are experienced in this,
Mm-hmm.
so it's all trial
An
and
error.
error. But then again, when you try and fail so many times, when you finally succeed, it's worth it. And you get to learn so many things in those failures that
Mm-hmm.
you went through, that you become a much better person instead of being in a
Okay.
setting where you've been given everything that you need.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not really feel the hustle and the struggles of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come outside here and meet the reality and you go like, oh, this is. So you basically go to an integrated system where you
Okay.
come out and you're like, yeah, this is life. I know it is. Yeah.
Let's talk about college. The
Mhm.
most interesting, the most interesting part of any young person growing up, university life. How easy was it for you to integrate in university? It's much more fast paced and nobody's really watching out for you. There's a lot more independence. But without independence and your situation, how easy or hard was it?
Being in an integrated system all through, you learn how to work with what you get. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I was in university and I knew I needed to do my assignments. And I had to think of how best will I be able to do all this? How will I be able to move from one point to another? And there are services that were offered at the campus,
Hmm.
which were good to assist. And I
Hmm.
also gave suggestions that would assist would make the campus give us better assistance
Hmm.
in getting around
Okay.
facilities and doing things.
And let's talk about that.
Hmm.
You were in leadership at the university as well. Like leadership, that is not a new thing with you. What was your contribution at university?
Whoa! So I went to Moi, and I get there, and seemed like they had not had the experience of being around persons with disabilities, or even if they were there,
Hmm.
very few.
Hmm.
So I had to first think of how do we mainstream persons with disabilities so that people are aware we are in this campus
Hmm.
and we do need assistance. We have needs that are different from the general population,
Hmm.
and something needs to be done. So I got there and talked to people. Like, so what's happening? What's going on? What do we have? What can we work with? And by the time I left,
Hmm.
I think we had a tuk-tuk that was carrying people around from one point to another, which
Hmm.
helps in making them more independent instead
Hmm.
of sitting and waiting for someone to come and get you to where you want to go to.
Okay, okay.
We have scanners that assist people to change hard copy material to soft copy for
Yes,
blind people to read.
yes.
So yeah, I think those one were a few things I had.
Okay.
Uh,
It is in the public domain that you work for Safaricom. How did you end up at Safaricom? Have you always had the dream that, when I finish school, I want to be at Safaricom, or did this happen by default?
Oh my God, I never thought I would get a job at Safaricom.
Hmm.
I just thought like it's really, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get there. It was for a group of people. It felt like it's a prestigious kind of a job
Hmm.
that you really have to be super, super huge in, I don't know, in something
Yes.
in your performance for you
Hmm.
to get in there.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's God. I applied and I got a position. They were looking for a person with visual impairment,
Hmm.
and I was one of them who
Hmm.
applied.
Hmm.
And I went through this interviews and succeeded, and I'm grateful.
Okay, I'm going to ask the obvious question, which I
Mhm.
was hoping you'd answer by yourself, but you didn't. What position were you applying for? What position did they hire you for?
They hired me for a position of HR operations officer.
Hmm.
Yes, and I am very happy in that position.
Hmm.
It's making me learn a lot.
Hmm.
Not having a background of HR, but
Hmm.
every day I learn something
Okay.
new. So it's a good challenge for me.
Where do you see yourself in another 5 years, in another 10 years as you grow, whether it is at Safaricom or elsewhere?
What do I say myself? I think I have come to love the HR as a profession,
Hmm.
and I have a bias towards employee relations,
Hmm.
which for me ties to a dream I had of studying law
Hmm.
and making it a benefit to others.
Yes.
My knowledge in law. So I think that is something I would want to blend together
Mm-hmm.
and see where it gets me 5 years from now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to do a personal quote as we're winding the show because everyone has a quote. You know, people they quote Nelson Mandela, they quote Martin Luther King. I want you to do a Diana Yatich quote. If you would encourage someone, not just who's a person who's living with disabilities, but any other person who's struggling and thinking they're not hacking it, if only I was better, if only I would do these, things would change, what would you say? People who are grinding it down.
Oh, for me, what inspires me is my life growing up. What we've just talked about. When I lost my sight, as a child, you do not understand.
Mm-hmm.
So you stand, you run, you hit the wall, you fall, you stand up, run again, hit the wall, fall until you are able to learn your way around and avoid the wall so it will never hit you again.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's you keep pushing and trying, and as no matter how many times you fall, just know you will finally find the path that will not have the obstacles that you're facing at the moment. So that's what I always think about.
Mm-hmm.
Like I fell, I hit the wall, fell, I stood up and kept going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope your story will be an inspiration to someone else out there.
Oh, thank you for having me. You're awesome.
Well, no matter what you're going through in life, I hope that the story of Diana has inspired you to do better, to be better, and to work harder. Until next time, it's goodbye from all of us here.